shit. I'll tell you what, being sick's getting old. Day 3. What time's it? It's 3:10. I basically hiked from first light till about an hour ago. And it's kind of funny, there was a decent buck literally rubbing a tree maybe 20 yards from me when I pulled it in my quad. And I didn't know he was there until I checked my trail camera, which is right there, and there he was, about 15-20 minutes before I got there. So I tracked him for a little bit, and he actually rambled along feeding, and then he stopped and was rubbing a tree, and then you can see where he's bouncing away. And that would indicate it when I came up. Pretty funny. Now, anyway, now that I had a lunch, let's see if we can try to get caught up in a way. Mark this as read. Here's another voice. Excuse me. My true stories. Steve, my name is Gary. My name is Jerry, and I wear many hats. I work as a landscaper, property manager for several camps around the lower Adirondacks. I recently heard a story from an older lady that cleans many of the camps that I work at. She's the type of person that if she says something, you can take it to the bank. She started her story by asking me if I believed in Bigfoot. My answer was yes, but skeptical. Then she told her encounter. I was respectfully listening until she described the smell, and this is when my attention was truly sparked. She described it as a family of skunks living in a Staten Island dumpster. This description immediately brought me back to a summer day out of my ATV 2 miles from my house. I entered a trail off the dirt road that I live on and ran into a smell that was exactly what she described, followed by a strong sense of fear and terror, like I was a target. I couldn't get that Honda power to the ground fast enough. I couldn't get that Honda's power to the ground fast enough. Who would think that anyone would be scared with a 70+ mile an hour ATV and a 38 special on your hip? I never said anything about it to anyone and basically forgot about it. Since her story, I can only suspect what happened that day, as I didn't see anything. I spent a lot of time in the woods and never felt insecure before or after. Another memory from when I was a small child, my parents and grandparents were watching TV in my grandparents' living room while playing on the floor. I can remember seeing 2 hairy, relish brown feet in the dark shadows of the dining room. When it came time to go home, I wouldn't walk through that room and made my father carry me. No one else could see it when I pointed them out. Children's imagination? I don't have any knowledge, just questions. Love to hear your 2 cents. Not that I give a shit what anyone thinks. Jerry Knickerbocker. Excuse me, Jerry. Thanks for sending that in, man. My 2 cents? Not that that means anything. You know, it's funny. I won't start ranting, but we should never ever worry about what anybody else thinks, you know? You're not the only one to have seen something absolutely bizarre inside a house. There's no way out of it. I mean, we've got hundreds of people saying they're seeing shit inside a house, passing through walls, passing through doors, bright lights coming in the house. What do? Tell them all to shut up? Tell them all they're lying? Tell them all they're on drugs? What's the number? What's our number? How many people do we need to share some experience with us? How many do we need before we can give it attention or say, shit, this is legit. This shit's really going on. You know what I mean? Too many people have been kicked to the curb. Too many people have been ignored, mocked, laughed at when they're experiencing things that we just can't wrap our frickin' noggins around. So, there. And I am trying to wrap my noggin around as much as I can and go the opposite of shrugging it off or ignoring it or laughing it off. I've seen enough myself. I've seen enough myself to realize that there is more crazy shit going on than isn't. Anyway, I haven't a clue. I would never even be able to dream up an explanation for what you saw inside that house, man. But if you find out anything else or learn of anything that can help the people, then get it over to us, all right? Thanks for sending that in. All right, this one's titled Second Encounter. Dear Steve, this is my second encounter with a Sabe. My first was us kids in the back of a station wagon, up in northern Idaho, 1973. Now, this encounter was on the edge of the big thicket in Texas. I was working for my father's swimming pool company, the division of Go Forth Custom Concrete, doing custom decking around the swimming pools. I love to hunt and fish, and I've always had a full gun rack. And my fishing stuff behind the seat of the work truck. Same. In case I ran across a place to fish, I'd just get out and fish. So, driving to a work site, I spotted a good spot on the Sabine River. Stopped and got some bait on the way home, then stopped at that spot I had seen on the way to the job. It was a small incline from the river up to me about 60 yards away. I got my fishing stuff out and headed down the hill. I had noticed about 10 yards from the river that I could not hear any more wildlife sounds, nothing. And at the time I had no idea what that meant, but my gut says, get the flock out of here. Steve, it took me about 10 minutes to get down there because of the incline. Now with the adrenaline rush, I went back up in about 10 seconds it seemed. And it was spitting gravel, almost hit a car because I didn't look. Getting back on the freeway. Well, that's a pretty tame encounter, but I thought someone might get something from my experience. Steve, I'm in the Club of No Return already, and I will be there for the Good Guy Army. Just say the word, man. I'm sick of the lies. Also, saying, God and Steve, I trust, amen. Okay, man. We got you. We got you shared. Got you shared. Another member of the Club of No Return that didn't ask to be a member, didn't ask to join. Nobody asked to join. Not one person's ever asked to join this club. UK Encounters. Hello, Steve. I've been subscribing to your channel for some time, and I enjoy the support and the content you give us all. This subject has fascinated me for a decade since I was a teenager, and now as a 52-year-old man, I now feel comfortable sharing my encounters I had as a teenager back in the 1980s here in the UK, in the county of North Yorkshire, around a rural village I lived in at the time called Melsonby. Excuse me. As a child, we played in the fields, derelict farm buildings and forests and quarries that surrounded the village. On several occasions over a period of time, I remember a feeling of being watched. It was a very obvious feeling, and on some occasions it was a feeling of panic and dread as we played in the fields and farm buildings and surrounding rural area. Sometimes when I think about these moments, I can almost sense and feel those times now. I used to hang about with a friend who lived in the outskirts of the village, and on more than one occasion I felt I was being watched as I left his house in the evening and rode my bicycle the short distance home in a panicked state sometimes. The feeling was smothering, in effect. It all culminated one night when I felt compelled to look out of my upstairs bedroom window late and saw a huge black figure in the field out the back of our house looking towards my bedroom window. The shoulders were huge, and the head was small in proportion to the body, and more noticeably was the long arms. I felt in my mind that it woke me, telling me to look, almost as if it knew that I was aware of its presence. My home was on Moor Road, Melsonby, North Yorkshire. Any Google search will show the rural location of the village. Not long after that experience, I remember being on my bicycle, cycling on the road next to the fields on the way to the next village of East Layton, and seeing a huge figure several fields away just standing there watching me. These memories have been tucked away for so long, but have always been fresh in my mind when I think of them. The figure always stood out as being huge, far larger in proportion to any adult male, and just dark top to bottom. I judged the size by standing crops it was among. I moved away a few years later and had no further experiences since, Steve. At the end of the day, the human race has existed on the earth for the blink of an eye. It'd be wrong of us to think there are species that are before our time and have existed before us and alongside us without us noticing, or yet to be found. Thank you for all you do, giving support to us all around the globe and a platform to speak. It is very much appreciated, and thank you. Best regards, Darren. Did you say to use your name? Sometimes I gotta check the beginning, you guys. You didn't say not to use it, so here we go. Darren Hardy, UK. Darren, appreciate you, man. And you're another of many, many people who have emailed in from the UK. It's kind of funny. We've had people, we've had the odd ego email in from the UK saying there are not any Sasquatch or Bigfoot in the UK. Isn't it an amazing thing to dictate to anybody? Anybody, it doesn't matter where you're from, what country, or who you are. What an amazing... I wonder how your brain gets into that position that actually tells you that you can tell the world what is or isn't. or more, I mean, when your brain actually convinces itself that you can dictate to the world what isn't. That just makes me laugh. It used to probably, years ago, it might make me angry, but now it's just comical. But anyway, my sun's burning. I got to get going. I'm going to go sit on a trail until dark and wait in this one particular area that I've possibly figured out. And then maybe afterwards I'll crack up in the inbox here and get some more shared. I wanted to share more than this, but I got to get going. Well, yeah, maybe one more. Okay. There's a lot of emails in here that aren't related. They're just for me, and I gotta stop doing that. I gotta stop putting them in this same basket. All right, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna be back shortly. I gotta get going, and I gotta go set up and wait and see what happens in the woods. And I'll be back shortly. Holy shit. Give it a day 5 of having the crud. Kinda sucks. I've been hunting hard past few days too. Harvested a nice whitetail buck the other day. Nice 6x6 whitetail buck. That was pretty exciting. But I'm not staying at my friend's cabin anymore. I already had plans for that cabin for this week previous before I got there, so they were generous enough to let me stay there for a few days. But so I'm not staying up at the ranch, and there's no way I can lay around and be sick. I just can't do it. Not here. Maybe if I was at home, but so I probably shouldn't have been. But I've been making myself go out and hunting from sun up till sundown anyway. But anyway, excuse me. Quick note. I've sent the odd email off to Edgar. Hope for some kind of reply, and he's basically missing in action. And I haven't gone to great lengths yet to contact his colleagues, and I know that a couple of them watch this channel. In particular, one that has shared a lot through Edgar and wishes to remain anonymous. But anyway, so before I start harassing people, if there's anyone who is connected to Edgar who's still watching his channel, could you please email me and give me just fill me in on what's up, what happened, all right? Because one of two things has happened. Either number one, he's been shut up, or number two, he sadly possibly lost his battle with cancer. And I will find out. And but I need to, one of you need to get in contact with me, all right? And especially before I go about sharing what Edgar gave me, okay? Because, and I'll do this a little more of a direct note, this involves you, and I know you've been watching this channel as we go, so it's going to be definitely possible to be in our and your best interest to get a hold of me and give me the heads up, give me the details of what happened to Edgar, all right?
And I really want to know, and I hope he is fine, but something tells me something's up. And I do know that both Edgar and I share the same attitude of F you when it comes to any kind of authority or being intimidated and scared. We probably could have went about it differently, I guess, of remaining a little more anonymous, but he's like, screw up, screw everybody, I'm not scared of anybody at this point, share my name. And I share the same attitude, but I hope that didn't turn around and bite us in the ass. Maybe it did. We'll find out. But I do have significant, substantial information already previously shared with me anyways. I have a lot of it. And you know what I'm talking about. You need to get a hold of me and fill me in on what's up. And as well, yeah, you just need to get a hold of me, all right? Because I will be sharing information that he sent me. And if I don't hear anything from anybody, I'm going to consider that a green light to share every single thing, word for word. So see what I'm picking up on and putting down? You need to get a hold of me and tell me what's up, what happened, where's Edgar, what happened to him. It's very, very important, all right? Now, got that little message out of the way. I'm going to jump off here, make sure that camera's still recording, and I'm going to get some email shared. I think I'm going to move the truck. The sun's coming up from behind the trees and blazing me in the face. There's no way I'm going to be able to read my phone like this. So I'm going to have to move and find somewhere else. All right. This will work. Man, that sun is so bright. This time of year it's so low, you know? It's real low on the horizon, so it just blasts you in the eyes no matter which way you go. I always seem to be squinting. It's never right above, so you can just go around with your eyes wide open when you face that direction, if that makes any sense. Now, I think it's -17 this morning, and the wind where I was is such epic views over where I have been hunting, but the wind is unbelievable, nonstop. There's just no way to do it, unfortunately, because the views are so epic across that Williston Lake with all the snow-capped mountains and everything, but the wind coming off those channels, holy shit. Brr. Anyway, let's get into it. Steve Isdall, I watch your show regularly and find it very interesting and informative. I'll relate a couple of experiences that I've had. I'm now a senior. I've hunted and fished with my father since the age of 12. He's no longer here on this earth, but I continue to enjoy hunting in the outdoors. One incident, I was in my 20s. I was hunting on my father's 2,000-acre lease. It was very swampy with thick brush. There was one spot extremely thick, about 6 acres, that I never had the courage to go into. I tried to hunt that spot several times, but on each occasion I suddenly, unexpectedly had a feeling of imminent danger and disaster that stopped me in my tracks. At the time I was carrying a pistol and a 12-gauge pump Winchester shotgun loaded with buckshot and slugs. I just knew, however, that would not be enough firepower to keep whatever was in the small patch of swamp from tearing me limb from limb. I never saw or heard anything, but I just knew it was there. That's a weird thing to know, isn't it? That's weird. You go with your gut instinct all the time, though, right? Another more recent experience comes to mind. About 7 years ago, I was walking out of the swamp, different location, as it was getting dark. As I was returning to my Jeep, I came to about a 150-yard section of the path that was extremely thick with brush and vines. About halfway through that part of the path, I became aware that something was walking right along with me. It was 7 or 8 feet to my left. It was 7 or 8 feet to my left, on the other side of very thick vines. There was just enough ambient light for me to make out part of the rear end. The top of the back I could make out was about 4 feet high, and the back hips and legs seemed to be angled slightly higher than the shoulders. It had short, not long, hair or fur. I couldn't make out a color until I noticed there was no feeling of fear of being hunted, no premonition of danger. When I did notice it, however, I got so scared I almost wet my pants. As the unknown one and I got to the open field at the end of the path, I levered around into the 308 I was carrying and prepared to defend myself. I never got a clear view of what it was. There was no odor. It walked and stopped when I did. It never came out in the open, so I have not at this point had eye-to-eye contact with an unknown species. But I know that they do exist and are out there with us in the woods. Another memory of hunting with my dad in a swamp. We were leaving the land at near dark after a day of hunting in the swamp. A local farmer who lived near the main dirt road where we turned in saw us and motioned for us to pull over to the fence line where he was working. We stopped and got into a friendly conversation with him. He told us we were doing the smart thing, leaving before it got fully dark. He said that he had been living there for over 40 years and that his family had seen and heard things moving around and screaming after dark in the swamp. They were not humans or animals they recognized. We shook his hand and thanked him, and we never again hunted in that part of the swamp. That's the same area that I had the sense of foreboding that stopped me from entering further. Thanks for sharing my story, Joe L. Well, thank you for sharing your story with us, Joe. One sec, I gotta mark that as red so I don't read you twice. It's funny, I've never had anything intentionally pacing me. But and just so you guys know, I have had a bear paralleling me just by fluke, random fluke one time. I'll never forget, I was bow hunting. I'm still hunting, I'm slipping along this old road. And just on the other side of probably this high brush, I can just hear the odd rustle, but right next to me. Well, not next to me, like probably 10 feet to my side. And same thing, we're moving along, and then it wasn't me stopping and it stopping and carrying at the same time at all. But I stopped because I could see, just like this man shared, it was coming to the end of the brush, and this frickin' bear comes walking out, just meandering along, nibbling on grass. By the time he got in front of me, it was about 3, 6, 9, 14 feet in front of me, and he came onto my trail. Didn't know I was there because I was still hunting. I was slipping along bow hunting, being real quiet. But that's the only time I've had anything somewhat similar to what people are explaining about something paralleling them in the woods. But it's by no means my experience of that bear isn't nothing what people are describing. People are describing something stepping when they step intentionally making them hear them, and stopping when they stop walking and walking when they start walking. What more could intimidate the living shit out of you in the forest than something like that? That's a lot of confidence, right? Especially that's a lot of confidence when that's happening to someone who's armed with a high-power rifle or pistol. I'm looking forward to sharing a lot of things, everything that Edgar shared with me soon. It's going to take a bit, and obviously hunting has started for me, I went straight from fishing to hunting. And this is just the time of year that I cannot sit down and take on another project and concentrate. It's just not going to happen. So like I said earlier, you're going to have to be patient, you're going to have to wait. And I don't give a shit about snivel. I can't stand snivellers. People that don't have patience and snivel. No time. But anyway, let's hope that somebody related to or colleague of Edgar gets a hold of me ASAP and use the Proton email that I know you already have. And get a hold of me, because I need to know what happened. I will find out what happened, and if I have to press a little harder, I will. Do a little digging deeper, I will. And we'll find out, because he wants me to share with the world what he shared with me, and I'm going to. So maybe one of his colleagues wants to add more to it. Or maybe not, but either way, I really sincerely hope that he's still with us and he's healthy and being able to spend time with his family. And but either way, somebody's got to let me know. All right.